This is Anthony with True Diamond Heart, continuing our video series on New Year, New Life. For us to move into our new life, as we are doing now, it's crucial that we understand what it is that's blocking us from the new life that's sitting there at this very moment, gloriously awaiting our revelation, our realization. And there are external blocks or external challenges, big challenges, especially if we don't have our survival needs met. But assuming we have our survival needs met, which is very likely given that you're watching this on a technology, you're probably the lucky 2/3 of the world that at least has its survival needs met, human world. The only thing blocking our true ease, our being at home in our own skins, our magnificent, glorious selves, that glorious self that you can see in children, that authenticity, that beauty. The only thing blocking that is what we think of ourselves, what we think others think of us, which is still all happening in my thought system, and our feelings, which are the other half of the loop. The feelings feed the thoughts, which feed the feelings, and they go around and around. Now, these things, these habits, these repetitive thought-feeling patterns, first they were conditioned into us as little children. Then as we became adolescents, we started experimenting with them and solidifying them ourselves. And now as adults, we are absolutely responsible for what happens in our thinking and feeling selves. Absolutely. The beauty about responsibility is it implies and contains within it the absolute power to change and to become something magnificent and not to be stuck in the pattern or the habit that we are responsible for. Notice how unstable your thinking is. Your thinking is always jumping around. Try to stop thinking for a few minutes. Extremely difficult until you learn, even when you've been studying for years, it still has its challenges. Now, this thought is jerking you around with a feeling constellation. It's pulling you and pushing you as though it is in control of your life, which as of now, to some degree, probably almost completely, it is. That's the old life. The old life is this identity, the persona. Persona means mask in Greek or Latin. And the persona, the personality, the identity, what I think I am and what I think others think of me. This thought-feeling system, it's who I think I am. I think I am my thoughts about myself, my thoughts about others. What defines me is how I think. Cat hair. Now, it defines me only because in my ignorance, in my sleepiness, in my unawareness, in my unconsciousness, I've allowed this servant to become the master. The thoughts and feelings, they're wonderful at doing their job. They bring phenomenal spice to life, interest to life. Thinking is phenomenally beautiful if it's in its context. Feeling also. And to get things done practically, we need the thought system so much just on this earth. It's so crucially, fundamentally, everything that you see, even this plant, which is in a human pot, has been put together, but it's all a product. The chair right there, the clothing, it's all made through thinking. Wonderful. Thinking and acting and working, right? Wonderful. But as the master or mistress of your life, it just doesn't give us peace or ease or beauty or joy or love. It brings us only judgment and fear and worry and anxiety. Although it aspires to magnificence, it can only frustrate and or bring us to a place of boredom and where we need more. So what's blocking us from the magnificent home that we're looking for, that's waiting, that's always calling to us at every moment, the new life, is our sense of who we are and our desperate attempts in all moments to keep that self together. What if we just let the self go? What if we just let who we think we are go? Then we're like children. Children don't think who they are, they simply are. That authenticity takes beautiful pictures. Children take magnificent pictures. Doesn't matter if their nose is this or their some symmetry is that. Children are always beautiful. as our animals, as our plants. Why? Authenticity. The simple being without that whole constellation of self-consciousness, who I think I am, what I want you to think I am, right? That makes us, the camera's on. And you're holding yourself a certain way, whether you want to or not. It's such a deep, and we hold to this programmed ideas, this conditioned sense of self that we've adopted and continue deepening and we hold this together with a sense of survival. Why do people argue so violently about things that don't matter or about things that matter? Because their sense of survival is based upon this holding these ideas in place. I believe that the world is flat. So if you can challenge that, you're actually attacking. It's round. Well, that's actually challenging my sense of survival, because my sense of survival is based on my skin color, my job, and the earth is flat, and the plants are this, and I like that, and I don't like the other thing. That's what it is. These are just ideas. They're not absolute in any sense. They can change. And notice how our ideas about ourselves and others change constantly within the framework of the rigidity of patterns, because we have our general framework of who we think we are, what we stand for, what kind of person I am. And then within that is the constant contradiction that reality presents to ourselves and that our own thinking presents to ourselves. Until and unless we are with authenticity and truth and beauty, and we actually start to give up that false self, we will always be without ease, with dis-ease and discomfort. We will not be truly at home in our lives. So let's be honest about all of these things we think about ourselves are not who we are fundamentally. They're who we are relatively. I'm allowed to say that about myself that I like spicy food, or I don't like, I don't particularly like food from that country or from this country. There's nothing wrong with it. But when it becomes identification, when you're arguing about it, when you're trying to hold it together, when it's really important that other people know this and understand this about you, then you're in a place of absolute vulnerability. You're not safe in your own being, because your own being isn't based on the foundational truth of simple, unadulterated being. You are. I am. After that, the rest is just colorful detail. Keeps life very interesting, keeps it sparkling, diverse, and unpredictable. Wonderful, wonderful. But the simple state of being, and in that state of being, we come to actually physically, psychologically, not physically, but it is physical. It's an understanding of the physical connection that we have through all these forces of nature. Emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, we start to understand that self is not confined to this body. As we did in the last video, we experienced a divinity that was greater than our little embodied, encapsulated skin bag selves. Magnificent. So let's stay with a courageous honesty and the self. Let's do mindfulness next time. How we continually monitor, watch, and transcend that which we've always identified as self, and which is keeping us in a prison. The self, the personality, the identification, is a prison to the extent that we think that that's who we ultimately are. To the extent that we ultimately understand that we are before, during, and after any identifications, to that extent are we free, liberated, and living the new life that is the promise of our final or continued graduation and realization, recognition, understanding on Planet School. Stay with us as we move deeper and deeper into the new life of this new year.